Chael Sonnen has 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube. So many people listen to this man on a daily basis. He drops this video yesterday about Israel Adesanya and Dricus Du Plessis showing up in Sydney just to give presence that he is the next in line and that Israel can call him out. This video is so shocking and disgusting, and I can't believe that he's getting away with it. I can't believe that I'm the only one that watched this video and thought, oh my god, this must be called out. I have to call this guy out. Without any hesitation, he says that Dricus is not only faking injury, but he is completely and utterly scared of the king, Israel Adesanya. I'm going to get into the video. I'm going to break it down. Before I do, if you can hit subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Cheers.
Plessis, listen to me very carefully. Make sure you are in Australia for UFC 293. It is of paramount importance that Du Plessis physically be in the audience when Adesanya fights Strickland. Adesanya is going to choose his next opponent.
It is of paramount importance that Dricus Du Plessis is in the crowd at Sydney because Israel is going to call out his next opponent. Now, there's so much wrong with this first statement 10 seconds in. Let's break it down, right? Would it be cool to see Dricus show up there and have another moment to build momentum and hype for this upcoming fight? Yes, it would be. I'm all in for that. Is it crazy that in the first 10 seconds, he 100% brushes Sean Strickland aside and jumps straight to the fact that Israel Adesanya is going to win this fight? Look, this is no surprise to me. We know that Chael has a built-in pre-existing condition of favoritism towards Israel Adesanya for whatever reason, so I wasn't surprised to hear this. But surely his fans are going to push back on this, right? They don't. I jumped into the comment section. They're all just being like, Chael, you're great. Chael, you're awesome. You're 100% correct. I think it's disrespectful on a number of different levels to Sean Strickland, to Dricus Du Plessis, the fact that he believes that he should be chasing Israel around the world, looking for what we already know, which is the #1 contender spot. It's Dricus Du Plessis. I don't think that Khamzat Chimaev or Paulo Costa are the next contenders, especially if Costa pulls off an upset and beats Chimaev. That's not going to happen. I don't think Israel wants to fight him again. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll do whatever he's told to do, because he does allude to the fact that he is a company man and he has no problem rematching people left, right and center, no matter how boring it is. So Sean Strickland doesn't even factor into this situation, believe it or not. Now listen, do I believe that Strickland's going to go out there and smoke Israel? No, I don't. We've already talked about this. I think that Israel Adesanya is going to get the job done. I think Sean Strickland is just too flat-footed, but we don't know what's going to happen. This is MMA. This is the UFC. Strickland could come out there, shoot a takedown, take it to the ground and pound him. We don't know what's going to happen. If I'm a betting man, Israel Adesanya is going to get the win here pretty easily, I think. And I don't want to eat my words because I do like Sean Strickland, but he doesn't factor into it for Chael. 1.2 million viewers in the game. He's the bad guy. He's around 20 years. This guy knows more than you. In terms of the cognitive intricacies of the game, Chael Sonnen is the guy, right? But Strickland just had to get brushed aside there in the first 10 seconds of this video. Absolutely no problem. No one pushing back on it.
Stephen A. Smith will say, sometimes the lights get too bright. And there was a moment in that face-off when Du Plessis turns around and Izzy was standing there. There was a moment when the lights got too bright. That's not a problem. And I don't tease Du Plessis for saying that. The fact that Du Plessis got scared, by the way, like that's one thing that fighters always deny. I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared. It's like playground rules and you can't say it. It's a good thing that you can get scared. Otherwise, you're a sociopath.
There's a very fine line between subjective bias and a delusional episode. I'm trying to figure out exactly which one is happening here with Chael Sonnen. What exactly is he trying to achieve here? This is very sinister and strange. Okay, look, he's being sensational, he's being shocking, trying to say that Dricus was scared. The first time I covered that racial interaction inside in the octagon, we talked about the fact that Israel Adesanya looks terrified, absolutely terrified. This is the inversion of that. For some subverted reason, Chael is going the opposite way without any pushback from anybody. It's a very, very strange take. I'd love to know what's behind it. I have a feeling I know what's behind it, but I'll get to that in a second. Because the last time I covered this story, I said the exact same thing as Chael is saying here, in terms of Israel looked frightened. I got bombarded in the comment sections by people saying that I was delusional, by people saying that I didn't like Israel because of the color of his skin. All these comments came flooding in on top of me. I was being 100% as objective as I could be in terms of the way Israel Adesanya looked as he stood there in the crowd watching Dricus Du Plessis Plessis dismantled Robert Whittaker. Israel was showing telltale signs of someone that was terrified. He was stood there, frozen, with a look of fear and terror in his eyes. He gets into the octagon and proceeds to have a mental breakdown in front of millions of people. So many people commented on it. It was like, oh my god, he's having an episode, a racial attack, an episode of like huge magnitude. And we are being told now by Chael Sonnen that in fact Dricus, who stayed completely and utterly composed on the mic, continued his interview with Joe Rogan, looked over his shoulder, spotted this dude with froth coming from his mouth, eyes wide open, and then continued and finished his point and complimented his opponent. This dude was completely and utterly classy in this moment, and Chael is telling us that what we saw with our own eyes was completely and utterly wrong. Because Israel Adesanya, who was standing there incoherently rambling, getting words wrong, stuttering, falling all over himself, incapable of putting a full sentence together, that he was the one that was frightening Dricus. And if that wasn't enough, he reverts into the victim consciousness position where he tries to bait Dricus into saying this pathetic word that he has been indoctrinated into believing holds massive power and only people of his complexion are allowed to say it. He doesn't know any better at this stage because he's been encouraged and promoted to use race as a weapon, and this is exactly what he tried to do when he was triggered, when he had fear in his eyes, when he was threatened. 100% this is how it played out in the octagon that night. So I guess Chael chose to ignore the fact that what most people knew was happening on the night, that Israel was using the tactic of blaming and complaining, whether it was conscious or unconscious. So the lights got too big for Dricus Du Plessis. He got scared. I'm not teasing him. What? Where are we going with this video? It's an absolute and utter car wreck in terms of jumping from one position to the next, contradictory positions from every other video. Yes, I know it's entertainment. Yes, I know that he loves to speak and he uses the same phrasing over and over again in each video, which does drive certain people insane. But at the end of the day, you have to have some sort of consequence to your word. You can't just come out here and tell lies like this and invert a narrative and try to gaslight 1.2 million people. You can't do that without being called out. It's not the way the world works, bro.
Chael P, I'm at a press conference and I'm looking around the room and I'm saying hey to Kevin Iole and my mom's in the back and corner. I'm looking around and then I come and tell you that I can't fight because my neck hurts. I can't even move the damn thing. But imagine that. Imagine that I'm whipping around, I'm nodding, I'm all over the place. And then I tell you I can't do a fight, got my neck, I can't even move it. Do you know what a fool I'm going to look like? I mean, right, like there's certain body parts, if you're going to work the I'm hurt scam.
You know what he's doing here, right? This is something that Chael has done in the past, especially with Dricus Du Plessis. He is alluding to the fact that he is faking injury. And not only is Dricus faking injury, in Chael's opinion, he's actually making himself look like a complete and utter fool. So if we're subtextually reading into what he is saying here, he thinks Dricus made a complete and utter fool out of himself by not fighting Israel Adesanya in Sydney and saying that he had a foot injury. That's what he's saying. He said that he looked like a complete and utter fool. I mean, come on, man. If anybody else said this, it would be on the front of every MMA shill media outlet across Twitter, social media. Because it's Chael, he gets a pass.
So of all the body parts that are going to be hurt, of all the mystery body parts, to say it's your foot when you just fought and then you walked out of the cage. You walked into the press conference. You got up and walked out of the press conference.
So Chael on numerous occasions will come at you and he will tell you behind the scenes intricacies that we just don't understand because we're casuals and we're not ex-fighters. Okay, and you have a lot of YouTubers that buy into that same rhetoric and aim the narrative and the stories in that sort of way where it's like, listen, you don't really understand it. Okay, so people don't get injured and are able to walk it off because of adrenaline. People don't get injured and they don't really feel it until the next day. That's something that just doesn't happen. Or is it just Dricus Du Plessis that this cannot happen to because he's a fool? I don't know.
Like there's certain you can't go with my foot. You gotta go with the rib. You have to go with the rib. The rib always works.
So you can't go with the foot because you look like a complete and utter fool. So listen, fake it with the rib. That always works. So in one breath, he's telling us that Dricus is lying and he's a fool. And 13 seconds later, he's telling us that Dricus should have lied and pulled an old fake injury with the rib. What's going on here? What's going on? Why is this such a confusing video? Why is Chael all over the shop?
They're not going to say, well, let me see your calves. That's not how it works. You always go with the rib. You always go with the rib. Well, I say this because there is a fear factor, and we have to acknowledge that. Now, one thing with fear, and I think that we can all relate to it, is if we have enough time, we can deal with the fear.
So if we put all the hyperbole aside and we actually listen and try to break down exactly what he means here, which is hard because it's so confusing and he's all over the place with this actual video. He thinks that Dricus got frightened in the moment when he saw Israel and that he faked injury, made himself look like a complete and utter fool, and it'll be okay because you can overcome fear. You just have to come to Sydney. That's what I think this video is about, and I think it's offensive to Dricus Du Plessis. I think it's offensive to the MMA community and fans that watch this sort of video on a daily basis. What's he at here? 27,000 views. Great numbers. I mean, how many people are watching this and actually buying into what he is saying? He's confusing and subverting the actual story for his own bias.
This is the king who climbed the mountain, and he's hungry enough to stay there and want it and sacrifice and work.
And we do burrow down to exactly what the objective and what the purpose behind this video was. Chael Sonnen absolutely adores Israel Adesanya. He's the king that fought to make it to the top of the kingdom, and he's going to stay there no matter what. Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessis, Alex Pereira, these guys are plebs when it comes to fighting Israel Adesanya. He's the greatest of all time. He never gets frightened. He shoots fear into people like Dricus Du Plessis and Alex Pereira. This is the narrative that Chael is going for. This is a pre-existing narrative that he wants to push upon people. He knows that he has the power in numbers that people watch him, but not everyone is buying this trash. Not everyone is interested in being lied to, and that's exactly what happened here. And in the process of lying to your fans and lying to the MMA community, you absolutely and utterly went in on Dricus Du Plessis despicably. You said that he's a liar, that he's a fool, and that he's terrified of Israel Adesanya. And in my book, that's just disgusting behavior, and it needed to be called out. Do me a favor, let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe share out the video and subscribe. I appreciate you. Cheers.